What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content daily. We also stream over on Twitch at This Is Aftersound, so come by and say hello. All right, let's go ahead and jump into my 5 biggest takeaways from this most recent town hall on February 23rd, 2022. Now, again, just a caveat for everybody. If you have not seen one of these videos from me before, this is not a recap, so I'm not going to cover everything on here. There's some other phenomenal content creators out there that do a great job putting together a full recap. For me, I just like to focus on the things that kind of jumped out to me and expand on them a little bit more in this video. So as you're seeing here, I'm using the official post by the Splinterlands team for the recap and summary as a little visual guide for us to go through, as well as my own notes here, so you can get an idea of what my 5 biggest takeaways are. So let's start with number 1. Now, I already did a video about this. That was the Warner Music Group partnership. Okay, I gotta say something. In my video, initial reactions to the Warner Group thing, the partnership, I was a little reserved. I was a little nervous. And I think the team could sense that. Not me personally, but I think the team could sense the nervousness of the community when it came to something like this, because it's a big, big deal in and of itself. But what we wanted to make sure was that the game wasn't going to become a distraction for the game that everybody knows and loves, right? And so, speaking honestly with you guys, that was something that, based on the details we had at the time, which was just the post, right? The official announcement, I was a little unsure of how this would help outside of being a huge opportunity for the Splinterlands team. I didn't know how it would provide value for the rest of the game and all of the asset holders within Splinterlands. Well, the town hall and the way that the team got into it, specifically Matt talking through what the opportunity was and why they took it, it put me at ease quite a bit, and I cannot be more excited about this opportunity. Now, obviously, if you know me and have been following along, I'm a musician, so this is big for me regardless, because it's very cool to see a top record label or top music group. Obviously, they have record labels underneath them that have this kind of appetite for getting into crypto and NFTs, and I think that in and of itself is awesome. Now, getting to where this affects all of you and me, right? So all of us together. What Matt was saying, what the team was saying, was that this was going to happen no matter what. The people, the higher-ups at Warner Music Group, were looking to get into blockchain gaming, understanding that P2E, play to earn, is the future, and wanted to get a share of the pie. Now, they were going to bake that pie with someone. And the Splinterlands team thought, why not us? If they're going to do it with somebody, why not invite them into our kitchen so we can bake this wonderful crypto pie together? And I cannot disagree with that, because now imagine the connections, imagine the network that the team will be exposed to, imagine the resources and the connections. Who knows, what the possibilities are somewhat endless. Now, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, and I do try to not shill out any hopium. This is the non-hopium channel. This is, if anything, this is the negative channel where I try to keep everybody's feet on the ground. So what we know for sure is that everything is still up in the air, but there is a connection here. There is a network here. And I think these relationships in the future can pan out to be something amazing. Now, I'm going to lean on this, and I think it's important for the community to do so as well. And that is Matt saying that everything that the team does is to provide value for the assets within the Splinterlands game. This is their baby, right? And I think over the last almost 4 years now, through everything they have done, their whole body of work, they have shown that to be the case. They have shown to me, even in the last 6-7 months that I've been playing this game, and what I know of the history and what I've done in my own research, is that they come through and they want to make sure that everything that they do is providing value to those who have invested into the game and into the project that is Splinterlands. Now, Splinterlands is at a very interesting and awesome inflection point right now, because where we are with this Waka thing, with Imagine Dragons, with the Warner Music Group thing, there is a lot of opportunity out on the table. And I just appreciate the fact that at the end of the day, even though the team does not have all the full details yet, they are going to do whatever they can in order to provide value to those who hold in-game assets of Splinterlands, right? So here's where we get into the speculation part, and maybe I'll expand on this in another video once I've had a little bit more time to digest it. So how can this happen? Here are the potential opportunities that are listed on the actual thing, right? So integrate existing SPL assets into the new games. That would be cool. You can have some artists decide to work, if they want to work with SPL instead of maybe creating their own game. That could be kind of cool too. More Wakas floating around, right? Or establish a relationship to their audience to advertise more about Splinterlands. So there's a lot of interesting things there, but one thing that wasn't listed, and I'm going to hang on to this because Matt did mention it, is the word airdrop. So what is the worst case scenario for us? All right, okay, outside of like it having literally nothing to do, the worst case scenario is that none of your Splinterlands assets transfer over, that everything is going to be completely separate, that the games that come through are not going to have anything to do with Splinterlands outside of being made by the same company, right? Well, in that case, what was interesting to hear Matt say was the word airdrop. So in that vein, I think about, I got into Splinterlands shortly after the SPS airdrop began. And so, again, this is full speculation here, but I'm just trying to share it with you because if the team, for example, cannot find a way to integrate the games with one another and have the assets being able to flow back and forth, so we can't use the same tokens like DEC and SPS, we can't use the same NFTs like the different cards or land that we have or whatever ends up being the case. My hope, and again, this is a hope, right? A speculation, is that if they cannot do that, what they would at least at the bare minimum do is try to give value to those who have invested in the game. So if you are an SPS holder and staker maybe, or if you have a certain amount of collection power, whatever the case is, based on the certain metrics that you have of assets that you own within the game, and I would probably lean towards SPS just because SPS seems to be where the value is, you may, for example, get airdropped a brand new token. Now, I'm not a big fan of all these different tokens running around. I come from I've never been a Bitcoin maxi, but I understand the Bitcoin maxi argument that everything is going to get eventually eaten by Bitcoin. Not that I fully agree with it. So all these random tokens floating around isn't like my favorite thing in the world. But the idea that, okay, if they cannot integrate and they want these new tokens or this new game to have either new NFTs or new tokens, whatever the case ends up being, at the very least, it was interesting to hear the term airdrop because if you own assets within Splinterlands and the team wants to reward you, even though they cannot cross-function and cross-integrate between the two games or however many games end up coming, you may get some stuff just for having Splinterlands assets, right? And I don't know what that stuff is, and I don't know what stuff you need to have. I'm assuming SPS and maybe collection power, since those are the two big ones. But again, this is all speculation. This is very far down the line because they don't even have a team working on this yet. They need to bring on a brand new team to start working on these things. But this partnership is exciting in that sense, right? So at the very least, to know that the team is going to be focused on figuring out how to get the most value for their current Splinterlands community and asset holders, that to me is where the real kind of gem lies within all of this, right? And the rock that I'm holding on to. So again, I can't predict the future. Who knows what happens? But as it stands currently, I'm very excited about this, and I am congrats again to the team on pulling this together, because here's probably my biggest takeaway from this, and it has nothing to do with the partnership itself. It has something to do with the proof of like the public validation that this is. We have been playing this game for a while now. We see all these different metrics thrown out, and there's a lot of stuff that sometimes to me feels a little bit hopium-ish, right? And so it's like, okay, well, we, the number one DApp, we have the most amount of, very high amount of daily active users and the battles and all these different things. So when all of that is being said, and we're not necessarily seeing the returns, right? A lot of people are looking, for example, at only certain metrics like the price of SPS being down almost 90% from its recent high. I can understand, where everybody's just like, because even I'm like that too, where it's just like, you know, am I looking at this wrong? Am I weighing things a little too heavily in this game? Do I have a little too much hope and faith in this, or am I thinking that it's bigger than it actually is, right? And that was kind of my sentiment after Chaos Legion didn't sell out, because everybody expected that to be the case, and then here we are, a couple weeks later, or right after the first day where it didn't sell out, and everyone's just like, okay, so there isn't as much hype around this game as we thought. But this changes things for me, primarily because Warner Music Group is not a small company. Warner Music Group has a lot under their umbrella. And for them to choose to work with Splinterlands over probably many other options out there in the gaming crypto industry, that says a lot. That actually says a lot to me. And so it makes me very bullish on Splinterlands, the company, Splinterlands, the game, Splinterlands, the assets, whatever, anything to do with this. So again, I'm bullish, and I'm trying to not shill just endless hopium, but I'm trying to explain to you the very core reasons of why I'm bullish, right? Because there's nothing really tangible. You're looking at this right now. There's nothing really tangible that we can take away. But to me, it spells out the deeper connection and reach that Splinterlands has in the broader community. And if Warner Music Group is willing to work with Splinterlands, just imagine once all the dominoes start falling, because if you've been following crypto over the past 12 to 18 months or so, you have seen certain levels of mainstream adoption. And again, just saying that Warner Music Group is not a small company. And if they are the first of many, if Waka is the first of many, I am bullish. So, okay. That one took a long time, but hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. And I wanted to make sure that I expanded on it, especially after that last video was a little, I wasn't sure what to think of it. But now I'm really, really pumped. Okay, number 2, I actually made a video on this separately, but since it was one of the big reveals of the town hall, is the Carnage Titan stats. So the quick thing here, in case you didn't see that video, at level 1, you're going to get 2 damage, 3 speed, 7 armor, and 8 health, with the reachability and double strike. So those two right there just make this card very interesting for me. He's 11 mana, so he is technically a giant and can take double damage from anybody with Giant Killer. But where he gets really interesting for me is actually when you jump up 2 levels to level 3, which is gold eligible, right? At silver, the only thing extra you're getting is that melee damage goes up to 3, which means you're actually getting 2 more damage per turn, because instead of 2 double strike, it's 3 double strike, which is a total of 6 damage. At level 3, which like I said is gold and where I'm currently playing, it's still 3 damage with double strike, but you get shield. And I think that is really, really clutch for a secondary tank that you put in the reach position if you're facing someone like a Jotun or somebody that has a certain kind of blast damage, because now with shield, you are reducing that blast damage unless it's magic. But any other damage that has blast, you can reduce, and he has a certain amount of armor on top of that, which make it very powerful as well. And then, so I don't want to take the credit for this. Somebody in the comments for one of that video also mentioned that the heavy amount of armor is helpful for double strike against melee. Against thorns, right? Because you take that damage, but that damage is actually melee damage. So now your thorns damage with the extra armor is actually reduced by 1 with shield. So this is going to be an interesting card to throw in. In the video that I posted, I was saying that you can even throw him in as a secondary tank behind some non-traditional tanks, right? So someone like a Bakjira, for example, that can self-heal, but then you still kind of have a tank that can do a ton of upfront melee damage and protect itself while hiding behind a Bakjira that can self-heal and has Void, for example, and is protected against magic. So there's a lot of really interesting uses for this, and I'm sure a lot more will come through. But I'm excited for this card. I definitely want to get enough BCX in order to get him up to gold. And the last thing on this is that you're going to need 525 packs purchased for each guaranteed BCX airdrop to you. So take that for what you will. It's a lot, but it is only 25 more than the previous one, Spirit Hoarder. And as Matt said, I think now that they have the numbers somewhat finalized, because there was a big jump between like Grum and then Spirit Hoarder, and they said that they hadn't really worked out the numbers appropriately. So now that they have the numbers worked out, it should only be 25 additional for each airdrop from here on out. So we'll start to do the math on that as we look through the legendary summoners, which I believe this is airdrop number 8. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So, okay, we're going to have one more before we have the legendary summoners, but still we'll save that for another video and dive a little bit deeper into what to expect there. Okay, number 3. This was something that was mentioned a little offhand by Aggroed and I guess both Matt, but it was also in reference to the Warner Music Group, because somebody had asked, are these games going to be on Hive? And the answer was, we don't know, right? We don't know what they will be on, but the games that Splinterlands is trying to create, and that includes Splinterlands itself, right? So when I say Splinterlands, the company is trying to create a bunch of other games in addition to the Splinterlands game that we know. They are saying what they would like is for these games to be multi-chain. And, I do subscribe to the idea that we are going to live in a multi-chain world, although at the end of the day, things will, the cream will rise to the top. And with any kind of distribution, you're always going to have that like 80-20, right? Where 20% of the chains are going to be doing 80% of the work. So the best will rise to the top. And you see that with pretty much everything, right? Like look at cell phones, look at internet servers, look at whatever the case is. There's always a very long tail, but a very high amount that, a very small amount of companies or assets or whatever do the most amount of volume in whatever that you look at. Now, the other thing that was interesting too, and I appreciate this analogy because it's not the first time I've heard it, is that Matt views all of these different blockchains, right? So Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and then the upcoming like Solana and AVAX, which are both getting a lot of popularity right now, and even Polygon too, to a certain extent, right? So all these different layer 1 blockchains, he looks at them as something similar to web servers right now. Sorry, not web servers, but like data servers. So like Amazon Web Servers or Microsoft or whatever the case is. Because the truth of the matter is, when crypto goes mainstream, right? And when it actually does go mainstream, and when it's matured to enough to the point where our grandmothers and everybody's aunt and uncle and whoever is going to be on it, the interaction that people are going to have is so seamless, right? And again, the example that he gave, and again, I've heard this example given by many, many folks before, so this isn't something unique here, although I do want to call out Matt or kudos to Matt for bringing it up, is, for example, when you run Netflix on your phone or you run a web browser or pull up a game, you don't think about whether it's running on Amazon Web Servers or Microsoft's or whoever's, right? It doesn't matter to you as long as it pulls up. So in the future, if there are going to be multi-chains and all these different, different assets that live across these different blockchains, it shouldn't really matter what chain it's on, right? Because there should be this certain kind of interconnectivity between all of those chains that at the end of the day will hopefully be a seamless interaction for the end user. Right now, we are so early in this that there's all these different protocols, just like in the early days of the internet, there were all these different protocols that you had to know and learn if you wanted to be a part of the internet at such an early stage. But now, I don't even know what stuff is running on HTTP or what TC, and I'm not even technical, right? I'm just trying to think of stuff off the top of my head. So that might have sounded ignorant, and it is, because I never had to learn that stuff. And in the future, that's what I'm trying to say is, like, at some point, nobody's going to be like, oh, is this running on Solana, or is it running on AVAX, or is it running on this? Because the wallets, the assets, whatever, it's going to be so seamless that you're just going to play the game. Somebody's going to play Splinterlands and they're going to have no idea that it's on Hive. And they're going to have no idea that when they transfer it off, right, the wallet that they use or whatever the case is transferring it out to Solana or transferring it out to Luna or transferring to AVAX or Ethereum, whatever the case is, right? But we're still a while away from that. We're still a while away from that. So we're in the process now of onboarding literally the rest of the world onto crypto. And we're just, in my opinion, or, people are going to say, oh, we're so early to crypto. I don't think we're like early anymore. You're not early adopters, because the people who bought Bitcoin in 2009, the people who bought Ethereum in 2014, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, they were the early adopters. We are, in my opinion, just past that phase of early adoption. And now we are in that kind of upward curve where mainstream adoption is just about to happen. So yes, in the grand scheme of things, are we early? Yes, absolutely. But now comes the important step of where these building blocks come through that make it so that early adopters and later adopters have the same exact experience, right? And later adopters don't need to go through all the technical details. They can just make it easy and seamless and frictionless crypto, which somebody had brought up again. That Hardpoint had, it's a term that Hardpoint had used, and I really appreciate that. So that is something that stuck out to me, and I'm excited to hear the team talk about it in that way. Number 4. Now, I'm not going to get political here, but the situation in Canada was brought up, and what would happen if regulators here in the US decided to go after the team or after the game or after, crypto in general, that was an interesting one for Agro and Matt to answer. And obviously, if you follow Agro on Twitter, I think he's been very vocal in my opinion, in a good way, about kind of bringing attention to what's happening in Canada. I'm not going to say anything else about the political side of that, because it's irrelevant for what the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is that this led to a conversation with Matt talking about validator nodes and running validator nodes for the entire game, not just for SPS. So what we're talking about right now, or what the team is talking about at this point in time, is just SPS validator nodes to make SPS governance something that is completely decentralized. But the goal in the long term is to make the entire game, right? The entire game decentralized. So it doesn't just run off of one server, and it can be run from pretty much anywhere and everywhere in the world. Now, we're not even close to being there, because SPS as a token and by itself is not yet fully, on a validator node and system. But it was interesting to hear that, because this is the decentralized future that everybody keeps talking about, right? And it was nice to kind of hear the long-term vision of where the team would like for this to go. Now, when it comes to games, I don't know that everything needs to be decentralized, and I don't even know if that would be best to be decentralized. But in the context of the conversation today, where it was talking about, well, you know what, when you have governments that are a little nervous, right, for example, and may decide to be a little aggressive coming after certain folks in the crypto space, there is this idea of the core principles behind Bitcoin and blockchain, and that is the decentralization aspect. So being able to move towards there is something that's really cool. Now, not all games need to be decentralized. In fact, I think that that's one of the interesting kind of dichotomies that exists within crypto gaming, is because gaming itself is, it might be served better by having a top-down approach by somebody who understands the core ethos of the game and can create an awesome game, right? You don't necessarily want to leave everything up to the community, because that can be abused in a majority style attack, right? Somebody gets enough assets and they can change the whole course of the game. So you don't necessarily want that. You want somebody trusted, usually the founder or the creator of a game, who understands what it's all about, to continue putting that out there and to continue developing it in their vision, right? That being said, the flip side of that is it also exists in a world where we have crypto, blockchain, and decentralization. So moving towards that in the long run, not not for the sake of moving there to move there, but for the sake of decentralizing the game enough to protect it from outside influences is another thing that's very interesting to me. So that was just a fun kind of thing that stuck out to me and wanted to share with you. Okay, number 5, the last private investor drop is going to be the end of April. So I think we may have already talked about that on the channel, but I believe that leaves us with 3 more. So these come at the end of every month. They're usually 20 million SPS that are released. And again, if you've heard me talk about this before, back before SPS was even released as a token, there were many private sale investors who got in for less than 2 cents, right? I think it was 1.8 pennies per SPS token that got in at that time. And over the course of 10 months, are being released 20 million SPS at a time, not for one individual person, but a total of 20 million SPS is being released every month. So we now have 3 more months of that, and that is going to end at the end of April, right? So we got end of February, so that one should be coming soon, end of March, end of April. So why is that important? Well, for those who are following the price of SPS, and the reason that I've been somewhat bearish on the price of SPS is because of the fact there's so much downward pressure. Now, there's still 2 aspects to this, right? And the private sale investors is only one aspect. The other part is the airdrop, which was mentioned, but the airdrop is going to go until the end of July. So we still have some time for that. But this portion means that we're going to have 60 million more SPS tokens released over the next roughly, a little more than 2 months at this point, because we're pretty much at the end of February. So 60 million more. And what ends up happening is even now with SPS at about 12, 13 cents, many of these early investors are up 6x. And if you look at the crypto market or just markets in general, I'm not sure that we are in a, we're still in a macro bull run. It does very much seem like we are in a bear market. So I wouldn't be surprised to see larger sell-offs across the market in general. And if you are going to get unlocked 20 million tokens and you're up 6x, I wouldn't blame you for taking a little profit and making sure that you at least have something to show for this huge investment that you made into the game. So I expect more or further downward sell pressure between now and the end of April, and then probably even through the end of the airdrop. But we'll see as the team tries to add more and more utility to SPS if that changes and if that upward price pressure can help to offset. Long story short, I don't think it will. I think we're gonna be in for a downward kind of spiral until the end of the airdrop. But as I've said, this is a good time to accumulate, not financial advice, and I don't make price predictions. But I do believe in the team, and I do believe in the token long term because the team is trying to drive value to the token. So that being said, I believe that's all I had. There were a couple of bonus things that I was interested in here, but I wanted to actually keep it at 5. So the TerraBlock integration was cool as well. This will make it easier to onboard and offboard. This will make it easier to bridge between different chains. So that's going to be something cool. It's a collaboration with actually one of the people that they had invested in them early on, right? So it's a connection and a relationship through there. So that's pretty cool out of that. There are some more incoming, hopefully, fiat to crypto gateways. They really want to make that happen. Right now, unfortunately, it's, the one that they have, this Transact service, which was released a couple of weeks ago. You can buy large amounts of DEC or SPS with a credit card or bank transfer, but it's available for everybody outside of the US. The US is just really, really terrible and behind in terms of all of its regulations, it seems. And that is it. So, SPS airdrop ends at the end of July. 1.1 million tokens are being airdropped every day. Is that actually the case? I didn't know that it was that high. Oh, you know what? Never mind. I was thinking about the staking rewards, because I think the staking rewards is another 250 tokens, 250,000 tokens. So that, I believe, is it. I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to cover. Sorry if this video went a little bit longer, but lots to talk about. This is very exciting. I mean, we didn't even get into tournaments, which is another thing that, go Weirdbeard. I'm very excited that he's about the fact that he's on the team and really love the energy that he brings. YGG, they had a couple of guilds come on to talk about this. So if you're interested in scholarships, this might be something to take a look at, as there are more guilds coming through and adopting Splinterlands after, you know, everybody went heavy on Axie Infinity last year. So that and Waka Spirit Blade is coming out tomorrow. So I'm not sure when this video is going to go up. It'll definitely go up before tomorrow morning. And when I say tomorrow morning, I'm recording this on Wednesday evening for me, the 23rd. But I am planning to have my live stream tomorrow with Godzilla. So come through and say hi. We're gonna live stream together, have a little fun, and we may live stream. I don't know if we're gonna live stream long enough to go through when Waka launches, but that'll be interesting to watch. Regardless, if you are interested in grabbing one. I at this point don't have the assets, although the FOMO is very real, and I've been looking through and figuring out what I can or should sell in order to get a Waka Spirit Blade. But you know what? I think I'm going to sit this one out, and I want to happily sit it out and watch everybody else fight over it. And maybe at some point in the future, I can try to grab one, but or rent it if needed. But you know what I've realized is that I don't need every single card in the game to have a good experience, and that I'll be happy from here. So that is all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know your thoughts on the town hall, what you took away from it. There was actually a lot. This was a good one. You know, last week was a little quiet. There wasn't as much there, but with all the major announcements, with Waka tomorrow, with tournaments and everything, there was a lot of really great stuff in here. So make sure you go through the summary on your own if you're interested in getting the full experience. But yeah, that is all I have for you. Have an amazing rest of your day. I will catch you all in the next video, and I will see you around the game. Take care.